seen Web3 and we're full Web 2.5.
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off with KBL, the Funky One, and Rich Shorten.
Shorty 35.
Shorty 35. You want me to introduce you as Shorty 35?
That's either way is okay.
Okay. Lurker extraordinaire.
KBL?
Yeah. We're here to talk about Lucky Friday, their 4 pillars of contribution to the ecosystem, and very, very happy to have them on the show. Gentlemen, welcome to Space Monkeys.
Thank you, Jay.
Great to be here.
An honor.
It is beyond an honor. I've been waiting for this moment for so long.
Funky, I love your energy, man. You just came up to me at the Moonbeam party, and that was the first time we actually met in person.
So good. I will remember that moment forever.
Yeah, there's before I hugged you, and then there's after, and that's like pretty much my life.
It's like B and
A funky post funky. Yeah, that's life for everybody.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I just got that funk now, you know? It's like I feel the state of the funk now. Yeah.
Good, man.
Anyway, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Lucky Friday is such an interesting project.
Yeah,
and
thanks. Appreciate that.
Maybe you could just start with giving us a few words on the origin of Lucky Friday.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Okay, so, I've been involved in doing Web 2 investing for a long time, since like late 90s, really. And my partner and I, we always focused on things where we could have real direct impact, get involved operationally and make investments. We did it, a lot of funds talk about that stuff, but like we really were almost builder first, investor second. So we'd have the smaller checks and then get other funds to put in the bigger checks, and we try to build things. And we sort of applied all of that once we decided in 2019 we had a company that we ended up selling. It was actually a podcasting company that we sold to WagMedia.
Wow.
And it was a great resolution, and that sort of marked my point where I said, I'm going full Web3 now. Wow. And I didn't know what that meant, but I just knew I wanted to go into Web3, that was the new sort of evolution of technology. And so we raised a fund. We had a small fund sort of to focus on, whatever we found. We had some latitude and some very supportive limited partners, but I knew pretty quickly that in order to really be effective here, we didn't want to build a fund that competed with the CMSs and the Jumps and the really big guys. We knew that we wanted to go back to our knitting and focus really seriously operationally.
Nice.
And we made the decision, rather than having a few people in the fund itself, we decided, if we're going to do this right, we're going to build an operating company that's going to have to live and die on its own, 2 feet. It's going to have to survive on its own, and it's going to have to learn things from the ground up. That'll end up benefiting the fund to some extent, Silvermine to some extent, but it's going to create interesting cross-pollination opportunities, and we can sort of enter the right way. And so I literally, started in places, as like WagMedia and KSDAO, and sort of the places where the thought leaders in the ecosystem were. And I literally just, went in there as a, regular guy trying to learn and trying to, figure out what was evolving in Polkadot, because it certainly seemed like the most interesting place to be. And from that, we decided to create Lucky Friday, which, by the way, is the largest silver mine in the United States. So Lucky Friday is the name of the mine, and that's how we got the 2 names of Lucky Friday and Silvermine.
Right.
And so, Lucky Friday, when we formed it, our concept was sort of around 4 basic concepts. One is infrastructure and staking in nodes. So we, run nodes, and we're doing a variety of things in the infrastructure. And that was familiar to us as Web 2 veterans, and we have a lot of infrastructure, support and people and relationships. So that was a pretty straightforward area for us to get involved in. Area 2 was NFTs. When we hooked up with KBL, that was an obvious, linkage. We realized the impact that NFTs can have in a variety of different areas in both the tech stack and to the communities.
Right.
Number 3, the third area is community and social good. And that's something that sort of weaves through all 3 of the others. And then finally, the last one is enterprise and governance. And what that means for us is still in formation to some extent, but obviously we're pretty active in the way we try to participate in governance and help shape the thinking about that. And we know that, as the institutions, whoever they are, whenever they start to arrive, they're going to need handlers as they enter this ecosystem, right?
Right.
Handlers to tell them when to go away, handlers to tell them when they're thinking about something in an awkward way, and handlers to bring them, to support different types of projects, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the architecture of what we tried to build at Lucky Friday, and underneath each of those, we're trying to build out real businesses that can stand on their own 2 feet and that can, generate revenue and pay people and build and evangelize on behalf of, Polkadot. Like our primary, Rob Habermeyer yesterday talked about the need for ecosystem agents.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what we are. That's what we want to be. We want to be
That's right.
a phenomenal ecosystem agent.
Right. He said we can't just have parity in Web3. We need a whole bunch of groups building together, right?
That's it. That's the idea.
Fantastic. All right. I want to break down each one of those pillars, but I want to say also that what I really appreciate about you, Rich, because I know that you're coming into this as an investor, but what you do before you lay down any money is you pay attention and you support people who are doing cool things in the ecosystem. And it's pretty clear that that's how you've learned so quickly, and you've really surrounded yourself with the best of the best in the ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, you take people obviously are what matter the most in every way, right?
Yeah.
And we want to do good things. We want to make money also. We want to, but if if you spend enough time working in the weeds with alongside people, it becomes pretty clear who you can trust, who you can work with, who you want to build with. And that, by the way, doesn't mean that all of us make mistakes too. There's plenty of things that we're all going to get involved in that are going to go sideways, right? Thank you for that. Like it was important to us to start there.
Absolutely. So how did it happen? KBL, how did you get wrapped up in this thing?
Yeah,
So-
should tell the story.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I started the Kusama Kings.
Yep.
Oh my god, probably like 16 months ago now, and through that, Rich, or Shorty 35, bid on the Kings, acquired Kings, and just like he goes into every community, became active in the King community, and we'd be chatting about stuff, all sorts of things, and then I think I started semi-doxing myself within the Kings community. I worked at Goldman Sachs, was in TradFi, and then Rich obviously saw that, and then we were just chatting some more. And he explained to me how he has Self-Mine Capital, Lucky Friday, and all this. And then one day I just got a message being like, "Have you ever thought about quitting your job?" And I said, "Yeah, every day." And he was like, "Perfect, come out to New York and let's see what." And I quit my job the next week, and I then went to work for Rich.
That's the way Web3 works, right?
Yeah. Eventually, you just take the leap.
Measure, cut.
And the rest is history. And I've never looked back, and learning from Rich and all his experiences has been invaluable. And I'm just so excited to be on this journey with these guys and everyone else who we have on the team. It's a really great time.
Wicked. And Funk, we've known each other for a long time.
Yes, sir.
And I tried to get you involved in the ecosystem a long time ago.
Yes, you did.
So what happened? And why did you decide to jump in recently?
I mean, there's no short answer to this question. I think that ultimately, most of you guys know I was a teacher for a long time, about 2 decades. And so I think just what came naturally was community building. And I'm kind of seen as sort of this overarching community presence in some ways. But much like KBL got that note from Shorty, I got something very similar saying you ever think about going full-time in Web3? And I've had people approach me and just because of the complications of contract work, whatever, and then just he wanted to talk. I had this amazing conversation with these two guys. They could have an hour meeting. We were probably on there for 75, 80 minutes. And it just felt like what he kind of sold me too, of course, because this dude's so good at selling shit, right? And he was like,
he really is.
This is what this is what really caught me though. He's like, we're looking for the fourth leg of the stool, and I was so I just and so no, there's 4 legs on a stool, and so I was like, okay, this is interesting, and I just I was recruiting, so it just and it's a dream to be in Web3, and I don't know, it's just I think something about the synergy of just us, right? There is something very emergent about putting our brains together, and having Paradox on the team is incredible. The whole team, it's not even just who you see here,
right?
It's just the way that we ideate, the way that we converse around those things, the way that we kind of continue to push forward and build things mentally that we know we can do in the real world through Web3. is a hugely powerful opportunity. So I couldn't say no. I mean,
Wicked.
and it's like I'm just literally like every day I wake up, you know, have to pinch myself because not only do I wake up to my wonderful wife, like my beautiful best friend, like she is everything that why I am who I am, but like just knowing that I'm like getting online and getting to hang out with these dudes and like, hey, let's go do this or that, you know, and just clearly I can't even come up with the right words for it, but it's amazing.
You know, there are a lot of reasons why people get into Web3, right? We wanted to be able to cover all of those. But when you're a centralized organization, which Lucky Friday by definition is, right? Just like Parity is, just like, I mean, you know, anybody trying to sort of, you know, create a sustainable economic enterprise, like you fall into that structure. But we wanted to create something where the reason that people were working with us or alongside us or partnered with us was because they wanted to be. Not because we were paying them the most money, not because we were making a bunch of promises that we couldn't, not maybe because the swag was really good. You did a good job with swag. But like, you know, ultimately long-term success comes from having people, and this is true of Polkadot as well, people who are so vested in what you're building that those other things are secondary. They don't care about that as much. Of course, everyone needs to take care of a family and everyone needs to support themselves, and those are very important things. But if you build the right ethos and you're working on interesting things and you're building creative things and you're working with exciting people, those things don't matter as much.
Right.
You know?
Yep, gotcha. One person we're missing here, as you guys mentioned, is Paradox. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's the third or fifth leg of the stool.
The stool's got a lot of legs.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We have a
Octostool.
very multi-faceted.
But I think he's core behind your mission of infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly right.
So let's talk about infrastructure. You talked about revenue generating enterprises.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, infrastructure is a great way to go.
Yep.
How's that started, and where are you guys at now in the infrastructure journey?
So it's pretty amazing. Well, Funky, you want to cover like how, you know?
Yeah, sure. Like, I mean, we have validators up on both the Polkadot and Kusama relay chains.
Yep.
We are currently doing coallators for probably approximately half of the parachains out in the ecosystem.
Wow.
And you know, our big mission when it comes to infrastructure is just supporting. So like, I've gone into basically every single project, every Discord, every TG group, tried to say like, you guys need coallators. What is it that we can help you with? And that is a big part of just like my protocol relations job. You know, fellowship is obviously more like the community building thing. As fans of interoperability, now we're learning about Cosmos.
Yeah,
and
you've been
like,
nuts on Cosmos lately.
I'm not nuts on Cosmos.
I meant that in a very nice way.
Look, at the end of the day, like as a nerd, I love learning.
Yeah.
And as a 47-year-old dude who like is keenly aware that I don't know jack shit, like I go into every conversation just knowing I'm fully ignorant and I want somebody to teach me something.
Yeah.
And so it's been great kind of meeting with them because we're just all bullish on interoperability, right?
Yeah,
And so that just like coming together of all blockchains. And so I think that's a big part of it, just why I've enjoyed kind of getting into that ecosystem. So we have a few nodes up in there. But I mean, now we're also trying to really attract we have run ETH validators, of course, as well. So we're trying to attract that big kind of institutional fish who can come in and just know that they're going to get the best kind of infrastructure because we're running in SOC 2, compliant data centers. We're working on our own SOC 2 CCSS like audits. So the company itself will be audited. We have these infrastructure experts with 30 plus years of, work, data center work. And so we're running bare metal and all these things that we feel like really speak to the ethos of decentralization, of trying to, just have that most secure approach possible for both enterprise grade, clients, but then also we want to, so we're kind of delicately balancing being community support, and also just giving that enterprise grade security for those who need it.
You have to make long-term commitments, right? If you're running your own infrastructure, you're making these things, we're signing long-term leases and, data centers, infrastructure. It's almost the opposite of the move fast and break things mentality, right?
Sure.
It's the try to move fast and don't break anything mentality, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you need at the absolute physical network base layer, right? That's what you have to have. And so,
absolutely.
that's what we're trying to build for, and we're, getting our blockchain chops about us. We're certainly not, caught up to where the rest of the world is. Guys like Paradox help. And We're building out the team to support that. But, we know I was a long-time telecom guy. I was involved in, telecom for a long time. So it's a familiar area to me. And we think we're going to go do a good job building out sort of core infrastructure that supports not just Polkadot. I mean, that's where we're going to start. That's our home base. But we know that interoperability means not just within, Polkadot parachain interoperability. It means cross-chain, across ecosystem interoperability. So we're heavily involved with Cosmos, and their new setup and the oracles. Like we made a commitment there too, because we sort of foresee that being one of the first, leaps across the rainbow, right? Or rainbow's probably the wrong metaphor.
No,
but
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, and just to wrap up this pillar here, you also went for a pretty small treasury proposal, but you kind of want to give away this bare metal blueprint to other people as well, or how do you describe that initiative?
Yeah, so sort of our idea was to start with, sort of preaching the value of bare metal and the importance of it.
Yeah.
Right. And we did the treasury proposal was for RPC nodes in Kusama. We're of course looking to head to other, once we build the kinks about how to get it all set up, and we're going live with that very quickly. I don't know if we have a date with that, but it'll happen
very soon,
imminently, certainly before this goes live.
Okay.
That we'll have to show that RPC structure live. We're actually going to be a little bit of alpha. We're going to be inviting the community to try to attack it.
Yeah,
like we're going to have an open call. Like, you have some horsepower, come try to break us down. Like that's we're going to try to test some of the test some of the the horsepower, and then we're going to look at Polkadot, of course, and some of the other parachains just to provide that same type of infrastructure. And then get our hands dirty in some of the more innovative newer things that people are doing, right, with relays and et cetera. But we gotta crawl, walk, run. We started with our Kusama nodes in the 1 kV program, and we will never forget those Kusama nodes in the 1 kV program.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's great. Sounds like you guys are doing all good stuff there. Let's move on to the NFT community piece.
Yeah,
so
sure.
what's that all about?
KB, why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, I can take NFTs. So obviously, just given my background with Kusama Kings, we know the power of NFTs. Even like the story when we did the Space Monkey with Rachel, right? Like what happened with my cousin and the excitement and life it gave her. That's a really powerful thing. And we kind of wanted to take that one step further, and we did some charity auctions with the Kings and the Ukraine effort. And so our latest initiative within the NFT space from Lucky Friday is Teddy DAO, which is what we've been out here in ETH Denver doing, which is built on Moonbeam. And this is just purely social good for charity NFT. We don't take fees. It's not for profit. Every day we will be auctioning off one of these like pixelated bears designed by Yumi, who I'm sure a lot of people on this call know, an amazing pixel artist in the space, and developed by Hash Warlock and Kenji, so two other well-known guys in the ecosystem.
Great.
Hoping to launch that very soon, whereby we'll be auctioning one of these little pixelated bears every day. You go on, you bid in Glimmer, and when you bid, you go on and you can pick the charity that you want that bid to go to if you were to win. And we're partnered with Just Giving, which is the second biggest online charity platform in the world, connected to over 100,000 charities. So getting them into the ecosystem has been a really great thing, we think, in terms of exposure. Like, they're looking to push this out into all traditional media. And what we're really excited, or I'm excited about, and we're excited about, is getting traditional donors in, because they have a million users themselves, Just Giving, and being able to bring these people in who don't know about crypto or don't want to speculate on, especially an NFT, but even more so, maybe even just Bitcoin, but being able to get them to download a Talisman wallet, buy Glimmer with a credit card, and bid within about 15 clicks. That's a pretty great onboarding process. And if we can do that without them having to speculate, getting an NFT, joining a community, learning from people just like we all started, that could be a really great way to start onboarding people into the eco, and especially the Polkadot ecosystem. And also working with charities to understand the power of crypto. Like, we all saw what happened when that horrendous war broke out, obviously, in Ukraine, and the power of crypto donations that allowed people to get resources to them so quickly. Right. So learning, like helping charities learn about the power of crypto and educating is also going to be a real part of that mission. So yeah, we're going to be launching that within the next couple of weeks. It's one of our first NFT initiatives. And we also really want to try and support artists within the ecosystem as much as we can, and work with people, given our networks and like expertise in the space. Like, any artists we want to work with and support, and just in that community element sort of thing, and try and elevate projects and stuff, and anyone can come to us and ask us advice if they want. They may not want it.
We did another interesting thing. Again, it's, hasn't yet developed as a business, but we ran a pretty good beta and a pretty good trial of going to a traditional artist, someone who makes paintings and sells them in galleries for a living, someone who's very successful by, artist standards, but a piece by them costs $3,000. Like that's basically what their entry. And they have a following set up, but they don't have any offering for their clients who want to buy something for $250, right? And so we worked together with this artist to fractionalize one of their paintings. We, helped them sort of create a process to set up a MetaMask, and we're sort of working towards trying to develop a business around helping to support. This is sort of more of a Web 2 business only, right?
Sure.
But you're trying to work with traditional artists to give them a new product to either give away to build engagement with their existing, community, or to have something to sell that brings them into the NFT land, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's also amazing about the Teddy DAO project is how you guys are kind of blending the Web 2 and the Web 3 to make it happen, right?
Right.
Like you want to onboard people to Web 3, but you also have you have to put the crypto back into. I guess just giving is not accepting Glimmer.
No, exactly.
No, so we have to deal with that.
Yeah.
That's one of the sticky points, is that we convert it back, then just giving distributed. The dream end goal, right, would be charities accepting Glimmer.
Yeah.
And some charities are starting to accept cryptos. Like there's some great companies out there that are onboarding charities to do that.
Yeah.
That's an end goal for us. And as Moonbeam grows, that's going to become more of a thing we can start to look into doing. So that would be the end goal, and then we would be onboarding them that way, and then they're really tied into the Polkadot ecosystem. So definitely on the roadmap for us.
And we learned how tremendously difficult it is, right, to be a first impression with new token, IRS this, tax that, legal this, exposure that, KYC
learning a lot.
this, all these things, that you have to grapple with, right?
Sure.
Like reach some conclusions about. Many cases where there aren't clear black and white answers to them, right? But fortunately, I was once in my life a lawyer, and we actually have a general counsel ourselves too. So we've got sort of pathways to chop through this stuff, but it doesn't make it any less painful.
Yeah,
for sure. Trying to grind away at this stuff.
Absolutely. I'm also interested, as the Teddy DAO, as you get more and more Teddies out there, you're going to actually build a group of people, right?
Exactly.
So I'm very curious to see how that community shapes up and what they're all about. What's up, Funk?
You're gonna love
That's
this
exactly
part
right.
because this is where governance comes in, my friend.
Okay, let's move on.
So,
Let's move on.
Yeah, so no, because you and I are obviously governance nerds. So at 100 bears, so roughly 3.5 months after launch,
Yes.
one of the things that we want to do, because they are still NFTs, right? So there's a very high probability that there's going to be a secondary market that'll develop because people like the aesthetics of a certain bear or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe people want to reclaim their donation money. So 5% royalties are hard coded into the smart contract that are going to go to Treasury wallet. And then the DAO, the people who actually want to hold on to their bears, are going to have the opportunity to each quarter decide where are we going to direct this fund. Maybe we take all these funds, and whether it's a solo charity that we choose, or maybe we choose a range of charities. And again, this is the fun of governance, right? And it gets messy, but we'll get to vote based on how many bears you hold. And then we're going to each quarter continue to just push donations to however the DAO decides.
Yeah.
So you have that governance
That's cool.
aspect and then there's also I envision sort of these do good challenges, these little things socially that even if people are not holders, they want to get involved, they just want to spread love, do something that's nice for others. We'll probably try and have like a weekly do good challenge. So there's a lot of other aspects that I think beyond just the initial donation that someone makes. I mean, you
that's
can
right.
imagine, think theoretically, what if we have big people who make donations, and all of a sudden, now we have a floor that is high that then people are going to be like, well, if I'm going to own a Teddy, I either need to bid over whatever the floor is, and so it could really create some kind of flywheel effect where we're generating significant funds for donations.
Yeah.
And it's important to note also that the Teddy DAO itself is an actual entity. It's a 501c3
Right.
that is so, we have sort of full transparency and traceability and deductibility. So one of the charities that someone could choose eventually, we're not going to suggest this immediately, but as we mature and as we get to the state of governance, is to make the Teddy DAO the actual, recipient, and then the Teddy DAO itself via governance can decide what to do with those proceeds, right? We haven't yet built the infrastructure to manage people's money effectively, for charitable causes.
Yeah.
But that would be the ultimate goal, would be to create this pot that, begins in Polkadot, but then even extends outward, that, becomes synonymous
You're
with
building schools and doing all sorts of
Gotcha.
significant charitable lifts,
Yeah.
philanthropic efforts. So
Fantastic. Okay, so I feel like the pillars of NFT community and social good, we kind of talked about all those here. But before we move on to the last pillar, like we talk about common good a lot in the ecosystem, and that's for the benefit of all token holders. But you guys are extending this to the benefit of all humans on Earth, right? Well, why is well, that's the idea, I imagine.
I mean, that was an important ethos, just to do everything, right? That sort of weaves through everything. I mean, like I said, we started with a fund, right? David worked at Goldman. Like, it's, there are people who dedicate their entire lives, right, just to doing things for charity. But we think that as part of our culture, it's just important to have this as a thread through everything.
Gotcha.
Everything that we do.
Yeah.
So exactly where and how that impact lies, we don't know. And we think that certainly in the case of Teddy Now, individuals should be able to decide whether it's their local school that they want to donate to, or their local kids organization, or to the Ukraine support, or Red Cross, or anything, like, just empower individuals to make those decisions themselves, and hook in Web3 and a cute little bear as a memento.
I love it. I love it. Okay, final pillar is governance, and you said something. I don't know if we had the cameras rolling or not, but something about kind of getting ready to usher in and lead other larger organizations into governance in the ecosystem.
As it relates to enterprise, we know that as the ecosystem as Web3 evolves and as the ecosystem evolves, we're going to enter a phase where more and more enterprises are going to want to become Web3 active, and maybe it will move below the Sonys of the world, right? Who are very equipped with unlimited budgets to do things. But now we're talking about your medium-sized enterprises, right? That need some way, and they want to become active. It might even include medium-sized institutions, right, that are looking to get active in Polkadot. I mean, our experience on the fund side is that Polkadot's sort of this island, and there's a handful, of course, of well-known quality groups that are investing in this area, but a lot of larger funds that we talk to are like, yeah, we need, thank you for being our Polkadot guys, because we don't, focus on this, right?
Yeah.
So there's going to be there's this need to, there's going to emerge this need to sort of be a bridge between the way Web 2 and TradFi and folks who aren't familiar with Polkadot, let's put them in that category, right? How they enter our ecosystem, and do that with sensitivity to the community, being a voice for the community in dealing with the sort of that uncomfortable boundary line, which is, in order for our ecosystem to thrive, we're going to have to draw in more capital and more participants with different agendas than our current community, right? And that's gonna clash to some extent, right, with the beauty of staying small and working in a small ecosystem, right? And so you're going to need to have actors, and sort of, we want to put ourselves forward as being in that frontier to try to balance those two things. And in all likelihood, you end up, as we've seen in governance in some cases, right, you end up getting shot at sometimes from both sides, right? But someone has to fulfill, or someone's, there's going to be multiple people doing it, but this role of sort of an ecosystem agent is exactly like the right, the way. Are we power users, or are we ecosystem agents, or I don't know what we are, but we're trying to occupy that bridge, right?
This is the wrong word too, but that sort of going out and making connections with people outside the ecosystem.
And evangelizing, right?
Yeah, I was going to say ambassador actually, but that's,
right. It's one of the benefits of being old too, is that, like, I have lots of relationships and lots of contacts with lots of people. Whenever these guys come up with some idea, I know someone somewhere who can be impactful.
Nice.
And now you just have to draw them, you have to figure out how to draw them in.
Yeah. Well, what would you, do you guys have any opinions about the state of governance in Kusama and Polkadot?
It's an interesting time, honestly, Jay. Like, I think that I'm going to just preface everything I'm about to say with the fact that I'm an older guy. So I tend to be more patient. Like crypto, everything that happens in our space in Web3, people expect, people think, just by and large in today's Western culture, right? Like, immediate gratification is already a need. And I think it's like just on steroids in the Web3 space, right? And so people want sort of instant recognition, validation, whatever. Like, and I think it's so contentious, right? Like all these things that are happening. But as someone who tries to just remain above the fray and look at things through a very pragmatic lens, I'm encouraged by the things that are happening on OpenGov in Kusama.
Me too.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm on the show with you every single week. I love being there. Sometimes I don't even know what the heck they're talking about, especially with the more technical, right? The more technical proposals, but just like
Only truth here, guys. Go for it.
But I think, but
Sounds good.
as a former teacher, like I think the one thing that is so incredibly constructive, especially if it's well, corralled, which you do, is dialogue and having an open and honest conversation
Yeah.
with people who can be dispassionate and put aside their emotions and say what's best for the ecosystem. And I think you do this incredibly well as leading on AAG.
Thank you.
I think the collective assembly of voices, whether it's me, Limo, and others on there who are kind of mainstays. Xylodrome, want to give her a shout out.
Raul.
It just Raul, of course, can't forget Senpai. But just I think that I'm very encouraged because I know as an older person this is also nascent and we're in this point where it's incredibly frenetic and dynamic and we can't let our frustrations that are very small-minded and momentary take away from the fact that our governance system here in the Polkadot ecosystem and broadly speaking is so incredibly evolved.
Yeah.
And we're watching this maturation happen in real time. So as someone who is just a bit of a governance nerd like you, I think it's really cool. I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to how it's going to roll out on Polkadot, right? Which we know is going to happen soon. So, I'm very encouraged by where all this is going. I think to Rich's point, as bigger institutions come in, as people, because once they realize the power of governance, the ability to actually change the protocol, and then do it in a way that is going to hopefully benefit everybody. I think that's what's so critical is just finding that, I guess, the wisdom among the crowd, especially people who have been here for a long time, to really guide them through that process, because there's going to be a point where the participation rates become pretty significant.
Yeah.
Now, that's, I would say, our biggest hurdle is that we have very low turnout.
Yeah.
But I think that is not gonna. And I've talked to people who are bigger players in the broader Web3 space, who are massive holders of tokens, and they're just like, we're just watching, we're just waiting.
And we've even, and now, the areas, if you look broadly at Web3 generally, obviously like in Curve, there's been lots of governance battles, right? And Maker recently had a big one. And, there's a handful of sort of high profile ones, right? But larger institutions, you said most of them are just sleeping. It's not even relevant to what they do yet. But they're evolving to a point where, we know based upon numerous conversations that many of them who want to exercise governance choose not to because of the potential implications of that from all the recent SEC actions, et cetera. And they're searching for ways to be able to exert that influence, but not be coupled with it. These are becoming really complicated areas. As a former lawyer, I'm fascinated by the structure and sort of the decomposition of organization. And it's so much foresight was exhibited by the team at Parity and Gavin and what they did in rolling it, sort of working during 2021 to build OpenGov and to sort of make that a priority, and the nuances of how it works. It's absolutely fascinating, and it is totally going to be unruly. And in the United States, 1776 to 1800, that was a pretty unruly time too, right? So this is no different than that,
Right.
It really is.
At least in this governance, we're a little far apart.
Yeah, a little bit, right? There's no muskets, as far as I know, or anything like that.
Do you see the whites of their eyes?
Yeah, I mean, most of the muskets are on the command line.
KBL, I mean, you're no stranger to community consensus. Do you have any comments about governance?
Yeah, I mean, I just reiterate what these guys say, especially like Funky's talking about. It's an exciting time to watch this evolve, and what's happening on Polkadot versus other ecosystems I dip into. On the surface level, for a lot of people, it may see the same, like everyone's just doing votes, but the actual structure of Polkadot is so much more advanced, and that is incredibly encouraging, because over time, as this does become more important and more enterprises do enter, that structure needs to stand the test of time, and it has to stand up. And I think we're in the perfect position to be able to do that. So, and I know it is such a hot topic and contentious topic, and people get frustrated in that, but it's just natural, right? That's just the teething issues, and we're here on the forefront, and what you guys do on those calls is amazing. I don't see that in many ecos, and so yeah, I think. And even our small little communities that we have, and when you do like decentralized governance and stuff, all these little communities you see within the NFT space are learning, and now being able to follow leads from Open Gov and stuff. It's just awesome to watch develop and be a part of. And I think we're going to be sitting here in 5-10 years being like, wow, that was pretty cool what we were a part of.
Yeah, it already feels really cool.
Yeah.
And a big part of that feeling is the cool people that we get to participate with as well.
Exactly.
For sure. There's so much experience, so much intelligence, so many people with diverse talents.
Yep.
It's a fascinating area where you can have, artist, emperor, and, financier, and all sitting next to each other, all pursuing the same. I left out dev. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
This person pursuing the same goals.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating area, and it's just undoubtedly going to transform sort of organization. I think that the concepts and the infrastructure of Polkadot's going to be at the center of that, for sure.
No doubt.
100%.
Well, I'm very grateful that we got you three on this show. Maybe,
Thank you very much.
Just before we wrap it up, can you give us a sneak peek of anything you're working on that's a little under the hood right now?
We do have, one of the things that we envision as we mature is sort of launching, coming up with project ideas and launching them or doing them as sort of joint ecosystem efforts. We had a funny, I guess we could tease. We're working on a cool idea and concept that we're reasonably mature with. That it relates to campaign finance, and we've talked to a number of political campaign finance and sort of interesting ways to evolve that, make it more democratic, more transparent, and to sort of enable people to participate in funding of political campaigns without tagging themselves as being sort of ultra this or ultra that, as one of the problems. So many people just stay away from involvement in political campaign finance because whatever you do, somebody finds it and gets in your phone and calls you, and then they tag you as this or that. And the truth is, the world is evolving in a different way than painting along these very rigid lines.
Okay.
Right. And so we've got a cool idea there that we hope to.
You want to integrate blockchain and crypto into the?
It's another one of these. It's so consistent with our ethos.
Yeah.
It's sort of a little bit of Web3, a little bit of Web2.
Right.
Center of Polkadot, leverage XCM, get a bunch of, work with a number of parachain teams to try to bring it to life.
Okay.
And so hopefully we get that done.
I mean, that's where
where
adoption's at, right? It's this blend between Web 3 and Web 2.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and one of these things will take off.
Web 2.5, let's go.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna regress. That's okay. We can do that.
Gav's vision was great, but
we've seen Web 3 and we're full Web 2.5.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm glad we could do it and share this story with everybody. And now maybe people will understand a little bit more the vision behind all this impact that maybe people don't realize.
We're starting to build our website is getting a nice refresh that will be visuals that anyone who's deep in ecosystem will recognize the participants in our visuals and stuff like that. So it'll be fun. That'll be live. Hopefully it'll be live now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that'll be cool. So we're gonna do a better job of evangelizing. But look, crawl, walk, run. Right. 2022 is about crawling and getting to know people and getting ourselves capable of articulating a story and affecting it.
Mm-hmm.
Now we'll do some walking.
Walk it out.
That's next.
I love walking.
Yeah. Rich, Funky, KBL, thank you very much for coming on Space Monkeys. Hopefully
Thank
we'll
you,
talk to you
Jack.
again soon.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you
Thank you.
for making my dream come true.